again. Looking at them, Yopi smiled and thought to herself, what a nice moment of reunion. Then he spoke up and told everyone, let's go, let's take everyone home. Yak's soul raised her head to look at him affectionately. Following everyone, she secretly thought in her heart it would be nice to have a master. In the conference room, Yopi was snoring and drooling at the same time. Several other disciples looked on helplessly and lamented that the sect conference could fall asleep. After that, the whole conference room was filled with snoring sounds. The butler bird suddenly appeared, kicking and screaming, "Did you get enough sleep?" It kept coming up with a guy blaming him for sitting here for just a second, but he could fall asleep last night. Where did you go? Put his hand on his cheek, thinking. Yopi complained about how embarrassed he was last night. I stay up at night thinking about the development plan of the sect. Even the bird sitting on a log hates leaving it behind. What nonsense, huh? Losing all image, Yopi quickly argued that I was actually working on looking at the data of everyone, spent the whole night preparing to arrange a cultivation plan for everyone. Last night Yopi held a stack of documents impersonating knowledge and attentively read the content. The letter sent from Socio had only 3 lines. Socio couldn't gathering on the air for a long time. Personality is simply a restaurant. 3 lines of letters are nothing when Anu sends a letter with only 1 line. Anu is flexible but lacks physical strength. Rochung does not write letters and moves on to writing. Rochung's poetry is too lonely and silent. Quite distant from everyone. The next letter was meticulously written with endless sincerity. Oyang Noe has temperament but hates contact with others. Too jealous of Nung Yak's soul wasting his practice. Looking at the pile of letters in Yopiang's hand expressionlessly. Commented that a group of disciples had problems that took so long. But Nung Yak's soul still couldn't find a sect to stop at. Luckily I met you. Let's see how the deity trains them. You're like an old man leaning against the head of a chair and coughing continuously. You've had enough. Then discuss the deity's plan. Suddenly he stood up, pulled back his shirt, and made a very simple decision. Everyone only needs to do one thing. Which is to bring our sect's ranking back to the world to become the first sect. Socio and Nam Guan both spoke out loud. Socio shouted out the keyword, first in the world. Yopi adjusted his voice to be serious and began to explain. It seemed a bit urgent. It's simpler. Within half a year, 7 of you have passed the test. Challenging a true disciple. The older sister. Even after a while he said he didn't believe how it was possible to challenge a true disciple of this sect like that and challenge a true disciple. Fearing it would be at the level of hell. Nung Yak's soul, after thinking for a while, spoke up to his disciple Mu Jong-guk. Extremely important true transmission. There are people who support and believe in Yopiang's opinion. The sect's history book records that when 7 disciples pass the test, the sect master's true disciple will receive a special privilege. The sect's treasures will also start to acquire these treasures. This new sect will have the light of hope of becoming the #1 sect in the world. She drew bright round balls in her head to represent the 7 disciples. Socio like losing the rice book. I guess if I get these treasures, my master will use his privilege to grab them and run away. Nothing is difficult. I'm just afraid that my heart won't have you to continue talking nonsense. My deity is a responsible man. In general, testing true disciples is very important to my sect. Nung Yak's soul on the one hand is as gentle as water in support. Nung Yak's soul. I am incompetent and willing to use all my strength to break through the challenge of the true disciple. She used all her determination to exchange and swear to die to devote part of her strength to the sect. Courage was conveyed through Oyang Noinoi's words. Following my sister's wishes, while protecting her, participating in the challenge of luck. Dying in her arms would also be a romantic thing. The space seemed to be about to burst with screams. The incompetent disciples were willing to use all their strength to break through the challenge of the true disciple. Yopi was pleased that you made a very good plan. I will implement the super divine plan to train everyone to create all-career female disciples. The bird on the side without stopping talking. I see that you haven't figured out how to train them at all. You despise and don't pay attention to what I say. The bird heard that the sect's renovation was lacking a lot of money. So I decided to go down the mountain to look for a job to make money. I couldn't let everyone work too hard. The bird saw that he was being despised and angrily yelled at him to stop changing the subject. Socio after a few seconds of determination. The look on his face returned to his face, not believing that he wouldn't cause chaos. But even though repairs needed a large amount of money urgently, could he really make money? Anu, in love with the reincarnated boy, couldn't help but cheerfully defend the sword. It doesn't matter if you get money or not. The master's strong aura is so captivating. In front of all the disciples, Yopyong solemnly announced that I'm going to work, waiting for me to come back, and immediately announced the first female disciple of the plan, who is the super god. Yopyong turned around and left. The enthusiastic disciple said goodbye to the sect master and master. He was not enthusiastic at school, but after work he was enthusiastic again. Quickly said goodbye. In the detention room, when the delivery man put the food down, Baekbae wondered, why is it that lately it's been you who's been giving me food? Yopyong. Nung Yak Soul looked at her and replied that the master had gone down the mountain to go to work. Hearing that, Baekbae sighed and explained that men who say they go to work are all lies and must want to go. Those people are still very childish when flirting with girls. Nung Yak Soul was a little hesitant and asked if it was true. Picked up the stone and was about to continue drawing. Baekbae said, it seems like you really care about Yopyong. Nung Yak Soul seemed to have been told that he was heartbroken and affirmed that I was a disciple who cared about my master. Baekbae heard that and immediately got angry and said that I still want to teach people art. The type of person who can easily win Yopyong's heart. Heard this, Nung Yak Soul's heart was a little shaken. Right? But very quickly she gritted her teeth and said, I had already decided. This life is dedicated to swordsmanship. Don't think about this anymore. And if you use your art to bewitch your master, then she shows off her strong and fierce female appearance, I will definitely not forgive you. Baekbae was so scared that she tumbled back and stammered, what do you want to do? Then she started laughing and explaining that people were just joking if there was such a thing. Yopyong has already fallen into my hands and it's your turn. Put the sword back in the knife. Nung Yak Soul said that's good. Then walked away without looking back. Put his hand on his forehead to wipe the sweat. Baekbae exclaimed, the jealous woman, it's so scary. Then she took out the cake to eat and she showed an excited look. But I suddenly felt that now someone was competing with me for Yopyong, which in turn made me feel excited. The map appeared with the pen at Mile Yo Gao. The front door of people walking around is extremely crowded. Yopyong walked over, crossed his arms and said to himself that this was probably what the bar owner was talking about. Where can I get the quest to eliminate demons to make money? Stretching out his strong and powerful arms, he said that there weren't many places where fists could be used to make fortune. Yopyong put his hands behind his back and walked in. Yopyong exclaimed, a lot of people. The current lobby was noisy and noisy. Looking at the posted mission board, Yopyong exclaimed that there were too many missions. Suddenly at this moment a little loli waved her hand and said, hello little brother. The girl cheerfully introduced him with a smile as Somayo, the receptionist of all you guys. If you have any problem you can ask me. Yopyong heard that and immediately came up to ask, please tell me directly, how to accept the demon exorcism quest with the highest reward. Somayo asked, are you a new monk coming here for the first time? He didn't hide it and replied with a bright smile. He was too embarrassed to be found out. After listening, Somayo immediately said, the apology rule with the highest reward. These are all demon exorcising quests with hell-level difficulty that are too dangerous. So they are not for beginners. You can only start from non-level quests. After saying that, she reached out and showed him where the lowest row was located. At this moment Yang Ga walked over carrying a big knife and called me as soon as I came that I wanted to take on the mission with the highest reward. Right? Knowing that the sky is high and the earth is thick. The girl next to her also said that the missions with the highest rewards are all great demons. The strongest monk of this Hasa city still doesn't dare to admit that this kid is stupid or crazy. Yopyong no don't care, they said. Thank you, let's see. Somayo replied, don't be polite. Looked at his back as he left. Yang Ga commented like a newbie. If you do so, the end will be very miserable. Seeing you bewildered in front of the datasheet, Somayo approached and asked. Seeing that you hesitated for half a day, are you worried that these non-level missions are too difficult? Before he could answer, she told him not to be afraid. Just be brave and take the first step. We'll discover that low-level monsters are not scary at all. On the mission board right now there is written 10 pairs of fangs to protect the 5 monsters. Yang Lang Horn Flag Coin 10. 20 Yopi Charm Pieces 6 Evil Bull Tails Copper Coins 10. So Mayo continues to talk endlessly with her thoughts. Each new person is growing up little by little, even though at the beginning they feel uneasy. Just be a little brave. Looked up at the registration board and she cheered that one day you can also become a strong person on the Demon Slayer board. Yopi Yang waited for So Mayo to finish speaking before explaining that I'm here just because the rewards of these non-level missions are too low. Wasting my time and money. Then he immediately turned his attention to the level 1 mission to destroy the Blood Border and force around the Spirit Mountain Silver 10 to destroy the 7 Executioner Fish 10 search for the lost Ancestral Jade Pendant 10 destroy the snakes in the Silver Cup 10 destroy the demon appearing in Lee Village 10. Looking at them with wonder, he commented on the reward for the first level quest. It's still acceptable. What conditions must be met to receive it? So Mayo smiled and said the huge number of completing 500 non-level missions. Yopi Yang heard this sadly and said what she thought about the basic mission of eliminating love in this place. Is not giving new people a chance to make money. Let's go see another place in the city. Clasping hands and walking out. You wondered if you should go to Thien Tuong Tonic or not. Suddenly when he got to the door he ran into someone he knew. Yopi Yang spoke up and Jo Man Sok saw him smiling and talking. Sect Master Yopi is so coincidental. After all, he is the one who came to eliminate the demons. I finally waited for you. Yopi Yang looked at the other person and wondered who you are. Hearing this heartless words, Jo Man Sok angrily shouted at us, we drank together every day and yet you forgot me. Hearing this you immediately pointed your finger and said loudly with excitement that you remembered that you are the outer sect disciple Jo Man Sok senior brother, right? Jo Man Sok was angry with you but still asking about this kind of thing. Do you remember clearly that you really want to go? Yopi Yang now sadly replied that new people can only accept low-level missions with too low remuneration and can only leave. Jo Man Sok immediately heard that. Come up and put your arm around me and tell me if you're really short of money. I'll take you on a level 1 demon extermination mission. But the risk is a bit big. Let Yopi Yang in. He asked because he didn't know your heart. Can you handle such a stimulating task? Yopi Yang didn't answer but asked. You can also create a group to collaborate on tasks and share money. Looking at the task board above, Jo Man Sok replied correctly that the task of eliminating the Bloody Kite Willow Forest is most suitable for newcomers who don't have the most strength. Then I'll take you to do it. But Yopi Yang noticed the red line and said he's not interested. I want to do this. Jo Man Sok saw it and immediately turned black and shouted that you were also doing something wrong and absolutely not allowed. This is an extremely difficult red mission and level 1 mission has the highest death rate. You can't accept it. Yopi Yang only cares about his reward. There is a gold coin. Other level 1 missions have too little money. Jo Man Sok continued to say more but in the mission this level. I'm afraid there's no way to protect you properly. Yopi Yang heard that and immediately calmed down. I'll run away very quickly. Hearing that, Jo Man Sok also had to accept the mission. Remember, safety is number 1 in the village. The mist searched and eliminated 30 level 1 monsters. Very quickly they moved outside Hasa Citadel. Standing at the Citadel gate, Jo Man Sok started to say that he was the first time to eliminate a demon and didn't know how dangerous it was. It's my duty to tell you clearly so that you don't die in vain. Yopi Yang follows along and bothers millions of senior brothers. Jo Man Sok, like a wise man disseminating knowledge that 70% of the space in this world is occupied by demons, but humans are absolutely not sitting and waiting for death except for demons is the resistance force of humans. Remembering the scary image of demons, he added that demons always want the remaining human world to also become a wasteland. But humans still trying to regain lost land. Imagining the image of brave soldiers, Jo Man Sok called out that the wilderness surrounding humanity's habitation would be endlessly destroyed by the army or evil force to take back the Yopi sect's small children. It's very dangerous for us to exterminate demons. Just keeping in charge of the liquidation work. Then he reminded us to remember that only by following me closely and not running around will our lives not be in danger. Yopi Yang agreed that it's not a problem as long as it's a monster. If something worth money doesn't run around. I won't run around. Hearing these words, Zhou Man Sok turned black and shouted, "Yopi master you." Yopi Yang turned back to look at him and explained jokingly, "Let's go." They moved to the ruined village place to do duty. Around here there are people walking around. There are also soldiers. A soldier standing there looking around, reminding everyone that the area is dangerous. No one except demons do not enter. Very quickly follow your footsteps. Yopi Yang also came. Looked around this area and suddenly Zhou Man Sok said that I don't know why I just feel like this village doesn't seem to be very good. Yopi Yang asked again, "Right?" Zhou Man Sok told the story of hearing that there were quite a few people except demons living in the village. This village died suddenly. Yopi Yang still remembers the mission, saying this mission is very simple. If you kill 30 monsters then you can go. Hearing this, Zhou Man Sok immediately spoke up to remind sect leader Yopi not to take those cases lightly if the extremely difficult level were simple. It wouldn't be open at the same time with a large number of demon exterminators. Then he said while extremely puzzled, "The main group mission is for everyone to join hands when a powerful demon appears. Let's help. Why should I use an iron shovel to carry things on my shoulder?" I replied calmly. I saw that everyone had weapons. I forgot to bring them. So I took the iron shovel and used it temporarily. Listening to the nonchalant answer, Zhou Man Sok thought secretly, I shouldn't have brought this person who doesn't understand the situation to this dangerous place. Chase Yopi Yang. Zhou Man Sok tell sect master Yopi to wait for me. But you said you had to hurry up to finish quickly. Breathing heavily from fatigue, Zhou Man Sok reminded carefully that above all we are in a deserted city. This place has the possibility of spiritual level monsters appearing. Carrying a shovel on the roll of Yopi Yang thought to himself that even Nung Yak Soul couldn't beat Zhou Man Sok. Muttering, remember to encounter the spiritual level. You can only run without hesitation. But after a while looking up, it was a dry scene. Looked left and right. Zhou Man Sok wondered what this was. Very quickly he realized the situation, then shouted, "We were going the wrong way, then quickly go back to the main road. This place is just if the two of us encounter a powerful monster. It would be miserable." Yopi Yang pointed to the side and then asked Demon, "What did you say?" Where he only appeared a ferocious three-eyed wolf. Zhou Man Sok screamed in horror when he saw that and then encountered the most ferocious monster in this place. Although trembling, he still stopped and said not to be afraid of the three-eyed wolf even though he's fierce. He hasn't reached the spiritual realm yet. It's just that his speed is very fast. I can still deal with you. Don't panic. Looking at him, he continued to tremble. Yopi Yang told himself that the one who panicked was you. Big brother. The ferocious wolf roared. Up with both of them. Rushed forward. Zhou Man Sok shouted, "Come here." Very quickly he defeated the other wolf. But it seemed he was also injured. Then a few more came forward. Saw Zhou Man Sok, gritted his teeth and cried out, "No good. 2 more. 3 more. 3-eye wolves. Working together will be extremely powerful. Sect Master Yopi, don't be afraid. I will handle it." Suddenly Yopi Yang spoke up and said, "Still let me come." Then he smiled gently in the wind. The hand holding the shovel quickly accumulated electricity. But suddenly at this moment Yopi Yang discovered. The guy who appeared next to you at the quest location spoke up. "The new guy here has Yang Ga taking over." The girl who was with him said sarcastically that this kind of love makes you all panic. Too weak. Let's see how the seniors do it. Yopi Yang glanced at them and thought to himself that he had encountered these 2 living Buddhas again. At this time the three-eyed wolf growled ferociously. Yang Ga excitedly charged forward. Gong. A rustling sound was heard with blood splattering. The flock of birds also took off because of the noise. The 2 wolves had their heads off their necks and were lying on the ground. Yang Ga called out to fight like in a book. The girl next to him he praised flawlessly. Yang Ga continued to look at Yopi Yang and asked, "Isn't this the kind of person who wants to take on a high-level demon mission?" That girl holding a wolf's tail in her hand. Contemptuously and without self-control. A dangerous first-level mission. How can someone as weak as a slug of yours accept this? Your strength is not enough to harm others and harm me. This guy is as good as your life if you meet us. Before leaving, Yang Ga waved his hand to remind him that this kind of hellish battlefield is not suitable for snails. "Come back quickly," the girl called out. "Take care of yourself." Yopyong looked at them like two idiots, then remained silent without saying anything. Raised his hand to wipe away the sweat of fear. Man-sok said, "Let's go. We can't continue to stay in this place anymore." Carrying the shovel on his shoulder, Yopyong wondered what was going to happen, so let's finish the task. Then you're determined to go. Man-sok can't stop this place danger. But then he followed and waited for me, and after walking for a while, Man-sok suddenly cried out that something was wrong. The fog was too thick. There must be a lot of monsters. Reached out towards Yopyong in front of him and quickly reminded us to turn around. But he still kept walking, causing him to call Sect Master Yopi again. Suddenly another wolf appeared. Man-sok was suddenly startled and looked up. Then he shouted in worry. The other wolf rushed towards him while defenseless. But very quickly the wolf's head was severed. Yopyong used a shovel to attack it. Man-sok's eyes were wide open and his mouth was bewildered. Then he called Yopi Master Yu to quickly stop it and don't speak. In the black smoke the growls of wild animals came out. After the big wolves roared. They growled ferociously, then stepped forward. Yopyong loudly commanded. Then there was a whooshing sound in the air. Yopyong, with a shovel in hand, rushed forward alone to attack the wolves. When he was done with it, he turned around and said, "I have to speed up. You follow me closely. Don't be more than 3 meters away from me." Man-sok looked at him bewilderedly and replied, running after Yopyong's footsteps. He wondered in his heart why he could use a shovel to deploy his swordsmanship so quickly. Next was the image of the mighty Yopyong killing one animal with one move. With one slash, one animal's head was killed. The wolf was broken. Just like that, in just a few hours he defeated most of them. Looking at that situation, Man-sok shouted in surprise, "Mom, what kind of skill is this?" As he chased closer to Yopyong, he stammered, "Sect leader Yopi. After standing firmly on the sword, I kept asking you, haven't you never exorcised demons? Your technique is so scary. Not human at all." Yopyong looked at him and replied, "Because my passive function is a sword skill that is proficient at level 100 max." Raised his hand to wipe the sweat. Man-sok said, "I completely don't understand what that means." Yopyong was too lazy to explain. He replied that it's still too slow. "Just stay here." Finished speaking, he immediately flew forward. Then the image of each bright ear appeared in space. Turned left and right to look at Man-sok, speaking so loud it was unbelievable, so dizzy I couldn't see his actions clearly. Very quickly Yopyong returned with a pack of wolves behind him. Man-sok was immediately scared out of his hair and screamed. Yopyong quickly landed. Then he said, "Not a little but not a lot, plus the last 3 were enough for 30. Man-sok trembled again and said, "But they surrounded them. Cut us off." Yopyong calmly said this. It was convenient, but his friend was trembling in fear. "Mom." Immediately he reached out and grabbed the other person's neck. Then threw it into the sky, causing Man-sok to scream miserably. When he flew away, Yopyong immediately stood ready to face the wolves. They roared fiercely and then rushed at terrible speed. Yopyong raised the shovel high and turned continuously. As the shovel pointed to the sky, the stream of power exploded. Those lights swept through the wolves one after another. Very quickly, with just one move, all the silver wolves were cut into 2. The blade of light went wherever the silver wolves were destroyed, then killed them again. Man-sok also gradually fell down. Yopyong reached out and grabbed his shirt, looked at the pile of corpses in front of him and said, "It's over. Then you go cut off the wolf's tail. We'll do it quickly and go back to Man-sok. The shocking threat is over." Under the smoky sky, Man-sok said in disbelief, "Sect leader Yopi, what kind of move was that? So many monsters just now." Stood with arms crossed next to the tree. Yopyong coldly said, "Normal sword fighting." Gathered Man-sok's tail while turning his head, wondering, "Normal sword fighting? The most powerful sword fights I've seen. I only fight with flower swords. What are you fighting with?" Yopyong replied that I actually suppressed them because they were too weak. Then he didn't forget to ask his question. "That's right, I have a question. What's the difference between monsters and demons?" While doing his work, Man-sok answered for the boy. "Monsters who have not yet opened their minds cannot speak human language. Demons who can speak human language also know how to approach humans." Heard that, Yopyong concluded that if that were the case, Demons would be much more powerful. Man Sok replied that most of them were like that. But there are also monsters that are stronger than demons. They only know in their spiritual mind. I've accepted a quest. Man Sok can't refute. After hearing Yopi Yang couldn't help but criticize this world. It's hard to make money. Man Sok replied, Sect Master Yopi, don't rush. Just take it slow. If you need money urgently, then I. But before he could finish his sentence, he was interrupted by Yopi Yang. Then, suddenly someone shouted to save Yopiang's life. Looking at them with wonder. What happened? Those running away shouted loudly, signaling to run quickly. It's a demon. They ran past Yopi Yang, kept shouting it was a demon. They ran past Yopi Yang, constantly screaming that it was a demon. Hearing the two words demon, Man Sok was frightened and cried out, Yopi, our sect master, but was interrupted. It's okay, you can continue. But Man Sok was trembling and turned around, suggesting that we run away. His face turned black. Confessing my own fear, my hands were shaking. Suddenly a loud roar rang out. Yang's group was now running and blocking the demon. One person said, Yang Ga can stop for a moment and quickly run away. As soon as he finished speaking, Yang Ga was knocked away by that demon. Yang Ga was knocked to the ground with great force. That ferocious wild boar was the murderer. His whole body is huge, holding a big pencil in his hand. Yang Ga now his face is covered in syrup and his beard is shaking. Looking towards Yopi Yang, who is still standing with his arms crossed, calmly blaming that stupid newcomer for being so dumb. Why don't you run away quickly? The girl followed him and ran to help you and asked if Yang Ga was okay, but he immediately told you to run. Help him up. The other girl then looked at Yopi Yang contemptuously and said to Yang Ga not to pay attention to his name. This trash was probably scared to the point that he couldn't move anymore. At this moment the wild boar demon attacked again. Then it roared ferociously. The mace in its hand kept shaking, hitting the ground and making a loud noise. Yang Ga faintly fell down due to the big impact. Looking at Yopi Yang walking towards him, he trembled and said, Newbie, why are you still? At the same time the demon held up lead and prepared to strike down. The giant lead very quickly approached Yopi Yang. But he reached out to block the ding sound and the lead was knocked back. Then the other lead was immediately thrown 10 meters away. Looking at that scene, the surrounding people gasped in surprise. Yopi Yang coldly stood there and spoke, out of respect for your love, advising the newbie, I'm here to run away, I'll help you once. The wild boar demon looked at his empty hand and wondered deeply. Then he breathed, took a breath full of indignation. Then stepped forward to attack Yopi Yang without knowing his strength. He calmly gathered energy and jumped up. His other punch was surrounded by a powerful source of power. One punch was landed on the demon's stomach. Once again he made the others bewildered. The demon was now also scared out of his wits. There is now a super big hole in its body. Yopi Yang gently jumped through that hole. Then a beautiful explosion occurred. Yopi Yang looked at everything with his expressionless face. Yang Ga was held up by his body in shock, surprised. The girl next to her wondered if new people are like that now. Then she didn't hesitate to say what she thought. Yang Ga is so shy, I want to roll around with this person in the future. Looking at the demon being knocked out on top, Yopi Yang land asked how much money this demon brother was worth. Man Sok replied, at least 1. Oh, gold coins. Hearing that, Yopi Yang exclaimed that it was not bad, then it was enough money to repair the sect. Man Sok is still bewildered. Yopi, your sect master is too strong. Even the gods and monsters can kill you. How strong are you? Yopi Yang calmly replied with the demeanor of a strong person. I'm also very curious about the limits. My strength is very much looking forward to the appearance of an opponent that makes me have to seriously fight. Hearing this, Man Sok was both shocked and scared to death. Turned his back and walked away. Yopi Yang suggested we go back. Well, today I invited you to drink and I just remembered that I haven't seen that nerd in a long time and I don't know if I'll see you today. At night the street lights between the shops have also turned on. In the restaurant there are only a few people singing, including a few people, Yopi Yang and Man Sok. Suddenly Man Sok asked if it was very late or should sect leader Yopi go home early. Yopi Yang leaned his hand against the orange and replied, does that still count as late? I got drunk and started talking nonsense. You've never worked overtime as a dog. Never seen a ghost at 4 o'clock at night. Suddenly the restaurant owner happily said, Yopi. Master, don't drink anymore. Someone is coming to pick you up. Yopi Yang asked. Someone is coming to pick me up. The owner's 2 hands were clasped together. Smiled and replied, that's right. Nung Yakseol's first disciple came here before and left a communication method saying that if you get drunk to notify her. After clearly hearing Yopyang's complaints about the girl. Hey, I'm so worried. Boss, keep telling me to go quickly. The person picking you up must already be at the door. Very quickly Yopi Yang staggered out. As he walked, he had to hold his mouth and hiccuped and said, Socio. Hello master. Then she blushed and glanced to the side to say it all. Senior sister, because in the sect the other junior sisters are also very busy. I am also considered quite familiar with you. Mainly because I work in the city, so it's convenient for me to pick up my master. Yopyang's appearance is now extremely drowsy. But he still heard the key question asking what he was doing. Socio replied, I was unloading the goods on the merchant ship in Don't Look at the southern port. I'm not very good at cultivation, but my energy is very good. Yopi Yang dreamily asked why. Socio sadly bowed her head and confided that I don't have the talent to practice normally and can't help with the work. Nothing for everyone, so during the day he went to the city to work to earn some money for the sect. Immediately Socio's words were refuted. Whoever said she didn't practice and spoke in a messy manner. After that he even vomited. Socio ran up calling master. Under the dark sky Socio was worried. Should I go get some water for you now? But Yopi Yang refused. No need for us to go. Then Socio suggested again, so my master will come and carry you. Yopi Yang then continued to refuse. No need. But the end result was still being carried on my back. Socio said, I'm very happy today. Then Yopi Yang suggested, on my back. What do you have to say to me to make me happy? Let's smile a bit. When the other person was bewildered, Yopi Yang jumped up and asked to speak quickly. Socio stammered, I want that. Yopi Yang, lying on his back, calmly asked if she still wanted to leave the sect. Socio with a sad face replied, I'm not a suitable person for cultivation. I know I'm very stupid and affect others. Leaving will be good for everyone. When Yopi Yang opened her eyes, something else caught her attention. Looking at the shaking object, Yopi Yang asked what she was wearing around her waist. Something. Reached out to take that object. Socio asked again, who said this? Holding up the cute little thing, she began to explain that the gourd I used my salary to buy for that sister. Besides swordsmanship, this is the only thing especially she likes. Yopi Yang, surprisingly, she likes something cute like this. Socio replied, she is also a woman and younger than me. What a good sister. After that, Socio's expression started to become nostalgic for people who didn't know it was true. The corner of Socio's eyes became wet and told the story of her sister picking me up. At this time Nung Yakseol's back appeared again. The image from when Socio was a child actually came back to when I was a child. She was abandoned by a sect and those people chased you away despite the rain. Sitting in an old, abandoned house. Socio always tried his best to practice when he was young. I thought that a person like me who was so stupid that he fell asleep reading books had only one path to practice. The unexpected result was that I couldn't. Gathering true energy for a long time. Socio was even beaten severely. 2 thugs after beating him immediately wiped their butts and left. There was a matter of using an accomplice. So I calmly beat him and still was beaten until he was bruised. But